That's about all I have.
Yeah,
Maintenance.
as part of that, for the last 4 or 5 years, Dennis and I have been certified to pull, repair, install E1 sewer pumps, and Dennis has been doing a lot more of that on his own, so we can do it all in-house. And then we went down Thursday and this repaired, I can't repair, I get a watch. Dennis rebuilt 3 pumps, and we're getting ready to do a station over here where we'll be able to do all of that right here at the shop and won't have to send out for any of that. So that's going to be really nice.
It'll save us about, well, with the trip and all, it'll probably save us about $300 a piece on the pumps on the repair.
Depending on how much they're, I mean, it could cost, save us a lot of money. Okay. Connie Walden from Great River Engineering is going to do a presentation on the new water system. There were maps for those who were able to get it. I don't know if we had any more.
I didn't realize I had such a crowd. I'll send a digital copy that they can keep at City Hall for you. So it is, I'd say these are about 75–80%. One major item that isn't included yet is the actual pumping unit for the boosting. So to start from the beginning, you have a plan set here. On the cover, you'll have in the lower left-hand corner, when we have it completed, would be your big quantities, so numbers of hydrants, valves, water line lengths, etc. We have a sheet index, so right now we're at 18 sheets. Utilities are on the left-hand side there for your contractor to contact. The second page of the drawings is just general contractor notes, things like working hours. I've got 7:30 to 5 for your working hours, things like repairing driveways, replacement of items that are existing, removing and putting back mailboxes, those kind of things.
Can you talk a little bit about that? There were some questions that after you go through the repair, all the stuff that you'll do to return stuff to basically where it was before, correct?
Sure, yep. So some of the notes include, let's see, contractors shall take appropriate steps to maintain continual service of utilities. So those of you who are worried about not having water for a long time, we'll make sure that your water is shut off for a minimal amount of time as possible, or not at all. Obviously we need to switch the meter, so it's going to have to be off for a little bit. Things like your mailboxes, those are also in these general notes where it'll be removed and then put back. Let's see. So when they are doing construction, there are notes in here saying that the contractor will be mindful of power poles, building structures. So say it's 5 feet from one of your sheds in your backyard, we'll make sure that there's either shoring or that there's fencing, something to keep those folks off of your property and within the right-of-way. Now, if you've got something built in the right-of-way, hopefully we don't, but things in the right-of-way like mailboxes and driveways, those would be removed and replaced.
Now, I think also it was said that if, when you dig in the yard and those sorts of things, you're going to put the landscaping back as it should be.
Yes, not just leave bare dirt there.
Yeah.
So seeding is part of it.
Okay.
Yes. That would be note 40. Contractor shall restore all private lawns and other non-paved areas. So we'll have a seeding specification in there for making sure people's yards are put back to how they're supposed to.
And I'm sure that it'll be marked ahead of time if there's some sort of flowers or something in the way, so we'll have the opportunity to move on something we don't want them.
Oh, that would be terrible. Yes, we can work through that. Let me put on notes here. Depending on the time of year, if they're not in bloom, I'm not sure we'll know that they're there until we get to your
Right,
roads,
but I mean, we would know if you,
yeah.
already marked where it's gonna be, we'll know what's there.
Yeah. Plan on property owner notification of their road.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the bigger issues, and this is, the third sheet that I have is just a map of the city's new water lines. The way that we, put the design together was to try to stay about 3 to 5 feet away from the existing water lines. Because with old water lines, as soon as you start moving earth, things start, cracking and leaking, bursting, and it could be a big hot mess. So we did our best to just be able to abandon those water lines, we'll have to dig up the services and reconnect. But hopefully we can just leave most of the old water lines in the ground, and they'll be putting in a new trench. The corridor for utilities is pretty tight in some of these spots. So we do have, it'll be interesting.
So I have a question with that.
Yeah.
So if some of the water lines have been replaced or they are newer water lines, why would you just completely put in whole new lines and avoid stuff that's not broken?
That's a great question. Well, we can discuss more which water lines do not need to be replaced, and that's absolutely something I can incorporate to save money.
Yeah, because it doesn't make sense to me if we're gonna, for a city to run all new water lines, and if there's stuff that's not broken and stuff that's already working and in place and there's no issue with it, why dig 3 feet, 5 feet over and put a new water line right by it that works just fine?
Sure.
Have we found any yet? Any new lines besides what we put in?
I don't, we have,
I mean, anything that we've gone through, anything we've had to work on, it's all been,
well, this big line like this one down here. But then again, too, the system's not on a loop system.
that's one of the problems, we got lots of dead ends.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to eliminate the dead ends so we don't have a settlement.
So if there is a stretch along, say, one of these parts, say there's 100 feet of new line, we can absolutely, or 1,000 feet, excuse me, of new line, we can adjust the new water line to elbow over and connect to what you're like, we want to save this, and go that route.
I don't know if anybody has a clue where that would be.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
the problem. We'll find it when we dig.
Okay.
That's what's gonna be.
Nobody, we've always been put in years ago.
Mhm.
But we know where we.
If we've done it,
replaced
yes.
We did.
And we've never replaced any big lines, it's just, yeah. And we have to remove anything that's with copper in it. If we got any copper in the ground, if we got any stain, any galvanized or anything like that.
Yes.
The state's requiring, well, no, the
Yes.
PA's actually requiring that.
Yes. So we'd be going to PVC. One of the things I'm still working on with the design to save money is I do have everything proposed right now as 6-inch. I think there are a few legs where we can do a 4-inch. We're still working through that, but right now it's all proposed as 6. So if there's, as the board's looking through it or anybody in the town comes in, if there's a portion of it where you think where I see fire coverage off a 6-inch line, but say there's a connector and it's covered by a fire hydrant that's on a 6-inch on a nearby street, we could save money by using a 4-inch along that connecting loop. And so that's one thing I'm looking into this month. So our goal is before the end of the year. So I'm a little earlier on this presentation than I was prepared for, but this is the perfect time for talking through the design before we get too far, so that we're not redoing things. Sheet 4. So we're replacing the piping in the well house, specifically through DNR request and the fact that it's aging and past its useful life. We will be adding a 3-inch check valve, as that's part of the minimum design standards now and was not part of the well house piping before. Besides that, it's just move and replace as it is existing. The color photo in the corner, that's the site plan for the new booster pump maintenance building that will be demolished, is going to be moved into that. I have it parallel to the community building behind it. So it'll look nice from the roadway. I know it looks a little strange looking down at it because the valve vault is a little off kilter. But nobody's going to be looking at it from above once it's built, I promise.
And at the, what's everything we're gonna be doing to the tower? I know you gotta put a cross tree and a ladder and.
You're jumping ahead on me.
I'm sorry, just go ahead and
That's okay. Well, so the well house is actually kind of a boring part, so it's a remove and replace. We're going to add a booster pump to the location at the base of the standpipe. The town right now operates as one pressure zone, so it's all on gravity. And so with this booster pump, what's gonna happen is we're gonna have to operate the town as two pressure zones. So everybody that has low pressure near the standpipe is going to have better pressure because we're putting in the pumps. However, everybody who already has decent pressure who lives farther downhill will have higher pressure, which is not good for your fixtures, right, especially older houses. So we'll be putting in pressure reducing valves for the second zone that will have higher pressure. So the mains will be at high pressure, but the reducing valves, depending if I put it on the main or on right before your meter, will reduce the pressure so that you won't have issues with too high water pressure coming into your houses. So two pressure zones.
Which we don't have at all right now, so we have some people that have some pressure issues at the bottom and no
Okay.
pressure at the top, so yeah.
Okay.
So are you gonna check for pressure, before you put the check valves or the release valves in?
Yes, so we've already done some initial pressure checks in the distribution system for the water modeling. And what we'll do is the booster pump itself, it comes with the ability to adjust within a range to maintain a certain pressure at the top of the hill. And so once we dial in at the top of the hill, we can take some current pressure readings before we go into construction and make sure that's set up properly. I don't yet. That was one of the things I did not complete before this meeting. But we will, yes. Sheet 7, so we have a sheet for Katy Lake. Those are the old lake lines that go to Mopane. The valves currently do not shut all the way. And so part of this project will be to decommission the old water lines. This is a request by DNR. If DNR didn't request it, I don't know that the only issue would be that eventually they'll fail in front of the town.
That is the big issue.
So we're going to look at a couple of options. One of the options is grouting back the pipes all the way through the dam. Another option would be just 2 new valves, and they can leave the dam lines live since it is private property. Part of that will be a decision that the property owner needs to make, and another part of it will be what DNR would prefer. So.
Is there not a sheet 6?
Turn this over. Yes, ma'am. There is not a sheet 6. I rushed it out of the office today. No, I held it back. That's the pump house site plan that I'm working on. So that's the plan inside of the building, inside the pump house. So we have multiple sheets that are zoomed in, and so you can probably find your house on one of these. The legend, if you look at the overall, shows you, I should have kept mine in order. 1, 2, 3. So the legend has some dashed lines that show you where that part of town is going to be in the sheet set. So if there's a certain part of town you'd like to look at closer, you can find it on the site plan. One question I had that will help me with the hydrant placement is that some towns, when they have old hydrants, they'll have someone who's lived there for 50 years and They don't wanna remove the hydrant from that location because someone will feel like they lost their fire coverage. So right now, I'm putting new hydrants in the locations that your existing hydrants are at, but connected to the new water line. I could save a few hydrants by reconfiguring the entire town and making sure it's exactly, you know, each hydrant has a certain radius to it, but I would end up moving the location of your new hydrant so it doesn't match the old. And I don't know what the preference might be around here.
Actually, on our water lines right now, we only have three.
So the old Lakeline ones, say you've got someone who lives with one in their yard.
Yeah.
Are they, I guess my question is, would you anticipate them coming in angry that they lost a hydrant? Or we can explain that they have a new one down the road.
Well,
It didn't
my
work
question
anyway.
is how do you hook into the old lake line? Once so that had to be shut off first.
Yeah, it'll be shut off and I'm not hooking into it, it'll be a whole new hydrant. Just in that general
But
location.
in that general location.
Mhm.
I think it'd be better to put the hydrants where they would serve more people rather than where they were, especially if some of those were from the
So
lake.
how many do you think we were gonna have?
How many hydrants? Well, I had my project engineer give it a try before I started with these plans, and she's at 28. I think I can get it down to 18 once we start looking at the driving distances between hydrants.
Yeah.
Right now, she just did,
Well, that's gonna be a lot better than what we have.
We're going from 3 to 18?
if not more. So right now, you're going from minimal to no fire coverage to the whole city having fire protection. So we should be able to get discounts on your insurance too.
Yeah.
once we
So
go on
as-
this.
Because not everybody really realized it didn't work.
Yeah.
So as 3 has serviced Mopane for X amount of years, I would highly, I mean, I don't see why we would need to jump to 18, especially for cost. This is all cost that goes to the citizens. I mean, if 3 has done it, now granted, more would be better.
Mhm.
18 seems like overkill, 28 seems like a dumb idea. I mean, that's just me, 'cause it's all coming out of the people's pocket to pay for this, so, I mean, I think that would, definitely between the mayor and the city, you know, suggestions put out on how many we really need.
I'll talk with Jeff Wallendorf too, as the fire chief, to see what the recommendations are.
Yeah,
I think he's gonna have the best idea of what we're gonna need for proper fire protection, so
Yeah.
I'll ask him.
I mean, he's gonna have a good idea on it, and I mean, it's just, I know he should have a general idea of the max locations that
Yeah,
he
well,
needs.
yeah, how many we need and where's gonna be the best place to put them. Yeah, so,
But I'm just saying 18 seems like,
Well, yeah, most of them that aren't working right now are off the lake line. We just have 3 uptown that basically,
That work.
that work.
right,
So we need something down a little.
Yeah.
put everything down low.
Yeah. Yeah, which I mean, I totally agree.
Right.
I mean, I think there needs to be more than 3. I think once, but getting up to like 18, I think, sounds to me like too many.
Right, and since they'll fill their trucks up and, you know, for say rural areas, so you can use fill their trucks and go, you don't have to have fire hydrant right there to get
Right.
the same services. Do you want me, or do you want Jeff's, the fire chief's number, or you want me to have contact you, so you can work together, I'll get that
Yeah.
for you.
In a lot of smaller towns, what I'll do too is we'll just do one main loop. So I'll do a loop of 6-inch that kind of covers the main drags in town, if you will, the main roadways. And in between the loop, on the smaller streets, will be 4-inch pipe to save money and no fire hydrants. So, it just, yeah, all depends on cost and preference.
I'll get you Jeff's number, so you can talk to him and see what he thinks.
These cleanup areas, are they gonna still be there?
We have to have more, you mean, flush out valves? Yeah.
Because
No,
weren't we told that
we
they
have to have
could
more.
be used
Oh, the
for fire
hydrants?
as well?
Oh, flush out, yes, they can do. They can hook up, you can hook up to those. And we don't have enough flush outs, we're required to have so many, and we're short, so we'll have to have more of those.
I mean, I've got it down Fulton, which turns into your, I assume it's called Main Street through town. Or is it called Fulton Avenue? No, it's Fulton Avenue all the way
That's
through.
Main Street. yeah.
Okay, so perhaps all the way down Fulton, I would definitely say down Broad Street. That's what I've got as line H. And then possibly then maybe, see, there's just not a whole lot of looping. So maybe those two streets, and I'll talk to the chief and ask which other lines would be, his preference.
Okay.
So I know there's a 4-inch that comes down right behind this building, like for the fire station there. Is that
Okay.
gonna be a 6 or?
So as up until now, until talking to you guys, I was gonna go with all 6 until we can devise which lines can be reduced. So it's easier for me to start, get everything together too much, and then cut down, than it is for me to add more.
Right.
Yeah. So would you like it to be a 6, or does it matter? Since it's connecting to the fire station, I would assume you might want a 6.
Right, but if they have hydrants that go out up close too, then that'd be just as well as, you know, because, well, this used to be the fire station, then they had this fill station right here, and then they had one over in the next building. So that's what, but if they have a hydrant right there, they would, on a 6, then they would fill deep. Yeah, it's just, yeah.
Okay.
Because that one, that actually comes up and crosses back and partially comes down Fulton Avenue right now, that 4-inch, and then it cuts back down 4th Street and then right down this alley here, you know, with 4-inch now. But you got, and I guess that after you have this plan, do we do that and us, do we need to go over it? and
Oh, yes.
get
Yes,
some-
well,
Get some suggestions from other people? Like, from the fire department here and stuff like that?
Yes, I would recommend the next time, maybe just after the holidays, to do a work session so that we can finalize these things.
No.
So work session, usually I have everyone from maintenance, mayor, anyone else who's interested come in. And we just talk about it for a couple hours.
And when do you suggest that?
like sometime in January, like towards the middle of end of January.
I would, middle, end of January would be my preference, yes.
And DNR is kind of wanting us to hurry up, is that correct? They're saying, hurry up and do something.
Well, DNR has you wanting, so first, they would like you to do the, survey, the rate survey.
Oh, right. I need to call them too.
The
See if
rate
they can
survey for
push it
additional
up
funding.
instead of waiting late into January to start it to do it.
Well, that's okay too. January is okay
that work?
for the rate survey, yeah, because they would like to close on your loan payment, your loan information and go into construction no later than June.
Okay,
So for the design process, we can even meet in February, and that'll still be okay. You can get your rate study going. We can do a work session in February. That'll give me March to wrap it up, get the draft to DNR, and then they're gonna sit on it for a couple of months.
and I don't wanna push Missouri Rural Water too much since they're doing it, since they do it for free,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, no, I think January is just fine for the
Okay.
rate study. So let's plan, when's the next board meeting, February? Could we do a work session before the board meeting?
Next will be January 8th,
Okay.
January 8th is the first is a holiday.
Yeah,
And then, or we could move it to, we could look at it on February 5th.
let's look at February 5th. So I'd like to
But do we
have
wanna have
the
this work
postation.
meeting in the evening?
We can have it wherever you like.
What is your all's preference? Would a Saturday work better? Do you wanna do it late in the evening like this? Those of you who would be coming.
If we do a work meeting at 6:30 on the 5th, then the city council meeting will be afterwards, which is gonna run, we could run late. So just to do it independently might not be a bad idea,
Yeah,
okay?
they usually take an hour or two, minimum.
Would the public be invited to?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is there like a Saturday, or like the 3rd is a Saturday before the meeting, or, I don't know if anybody wants to meet on a Sunday.
Or January 27th even,
Yeah.
is another Saturday. Anniversary.
Third probably would be bad.
That's fine, I think.
Third sound reasonable for anybody that would want to come to a work meeting and work on the final.
Okay.
February.
Okay.
Right.
I'm gonna do 10 a.m.
Connie has come to Kansas.
I do have to drive.
Yeah.
10 a.m. is the earliest I would go. 11 would be more preferable. 1 is great too.
Does 1 o'clock on a Saturday work for?
Anybody that would be interested in
Will we post that?
Yeah. that? Yeah, because it'd be a public meeting.
We have this special meeting on the 3rd, and
Uh-huh.
a regular council meeting on
The
that
Monday,
following
on the
day.
5th, yeah.
So I'll bring like 30 copies.
Okay.
If you think more than 30 people show up, just let me know.
That's
Is
not
our
very
usual
good.
crowd here?
It might, no, who knows?
Okay. You can always share. Good stuff. So I think that does bring me to the tank then. So DNR wants you to, so one of the recommended items from your tank inspection was a fence. Chad, I'm not sure how I'm gonna get a fence around all that, with you guys being able to access your property to
Yeah.
vehicles.
Um,
So I put in the fence detail, but I don't, it is recommended, unless you wanna fence in the whole property and include the buildings.
yeah. I guess we could ask DNR about that, if that's, I mean, yeah, that's gonna be problematic.
So if they're okay with no fence, let's do no fence.
Okay, I'm not fine with that.
I'll check. I'll put that on my list, not your list.
Well, and I think that
So
the
they want-
buildings and stuff that you're doing to fix it ought to be secure enough
Yeah.
that a fence.
Yeah.
But they may want one around the pump house or
So you're talking about a fence like around the tower?
Yeah, one of the
that's-
recommendations from the
Yeah,
tank
that's gonna be
inspection was a
pretty,
fence.
yeah, that's gonna be pretty safety, like mandated, so it's, I mean, that's gonna be pushed pretty hard.
It's a tight spot, but yeah.
I mean, I'd have to look at the area, but, I mean, if it's in somebody's yard or something, or driveway, I mean,
It'll all be on our property, so that's not gonna be an issue. Just so, it's really tight up there.
yeah.
See
We just
what
have
we
to know
can-
what the spray paint can and figure out.
Yeah, it'll be a creative fence.
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
An in-ground shop.
So as for the tank, we're just doing the minimum improvements that were recommended by your tank inspection. So, the existing ladder needs climbing safety, and then it also needs anti-climbing device so people don't climb up it. We're putting in, they recommended a 24-inch manway, you have an 18-inch right now. Some improvements to the overflow pipe, including a frost-free drain at the bottom of the tank. And then as for the tank valving underneath, I have a site plan in there, but the 2 valves will be replaced, and then we'd like to put in a bypass
Yeah. we
with the
talked
valve.
about that,
So
yeah.
the bypass is proposed in there as well.
And the bypass is for Helen.
No,
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 that's
this is
so they can take the tank offline and maintain it, clean it out. So the interconnect is Callaway too.
Okay.
Speaking of the interconnect, I don't know that you sent me their information who I can talk to get the
I'll
exact
get that to you.
location. But, I'll finish that up too. I have it on my plans, but it's approximate. I'm not sure where their line is.
So we will be connected to Callaway too, or?
It's an emergency interconnect, so in case for some reason your well,
That's everything's emergency.
yeah, in case your well fails or something happens where the town doesn't have water, you can open up the connect to Callaway too.
Like last year when the tower froze up.
Okay,
Yes.
yes, ma'am. Yep,
Okay, that's where this is going, okay.
yes.
Okay.
It's for emergencies only.
Um,
Because you definitely don't want to be paying Callaway too all the time for their water, but when things happen with your system and you need to replace some pumps or whatnot,
And it would have been handy when you put up.
So to have a second source of water would be really useful for everybody.
Absolutely.
Well, we have to.
Yeah.
And it's way cheaper than building a whole nother stand tower,
Mhm.
so.
The plan set ends with a few standard details. So there's flush hydrants, fire hydrants, the meter connect.
They have meters?
What was that?
You have meters?
We will have meters, yes, meters at every
For
residence.
that one?
For
All of them.
every residence, and then we have to have a meter on the tower.
When are you doing that?
That'll be,
It's part of the
Part of the
construction
construction, yeah.
project, so it wouldn't be any earlier than late fall of 2024.
So I have a question. Are we gonna ever at any point in time be without water?
So when they switch your service connection from the old water to the new one, they will have to turn off your water at the house. And
So it's not a house, it's a business. That's why I was asking. I'm opening a business downtown Bouquet. I own the bakery. We will be open in March, April. I need to know if we're gonna be without water. Then I will need to know if we're gonna have a boil order. And if there's a certain amount of time during business hours, if we're gonna be without water, this kind of goes to the city. Am I gonna be reimbursed for business I'm not gonna be able to have because I have no water?
so part of these construction projects includes temporary water service. So planning the phasing of the project would be really important to make sure that you have water. And if there is a boil order, it is required to let you know.
Right.
Yes.
And then how soon afterwards will there be a sunshine report available, a water level report available as well?
Water level.
Like the chlorine and all of that?
Oh, okay.
Yes, the sunshine.
So this testing is available online every time it's reported. You don't have to sunshine it, it's free. I can send Chad the link. But the monthly testing is reported online through DNR's website and it's publicly available.
Okay.
So you can check it now if you'd like.
And so then, what are the precautions that are being taken that the water tower does not freeze up again this year so that we're out of the water and pipes are fresh?
well, that's the, redoing the pit where the pipes are, that's gonna change everything.
When is that happening?
It, where are we starting, at the top? Are you starting at the tower, or?
It's usual, well, I can't tell the contractor the means and methods, but it's typical to start at the top.
or
It's not gonna be done this
It's not gonna be done this winter, so.
So we
There
can
are
prepare
things-
to be without water again if the tower freezes up
There are
like
things
that.
that the city can do to prevent that from happening, so they can, they know it'll be below freezing, they can, put in like heat lamps.
Has it ever froze like that before?
And I checked with Ron Fisher at Callaway too, and I checked with, who used to be our chief water operator, who's an engineer that's over in Columbia, and he said it just sometimes happens. That sometimes, at some point, the water can freeze and not get out, depending on how cold it gets.
Well, it'd be really nice if it froze, you all froze, and you let the town know, that way they didn't feel like.
Yeah, and that is something that we're gonna have to, our website should be live on the 15th, so we can send notices out immediately if that
On the
happens.
website, what about the KRCG TV, if we're not on the website? I mean, it should be notified
Not on the
to.
website. No, website, anybody can get on the website, just go in.
If you don't have a computer, you can't get on the website, why can't it be
So,
announced to the
like a
TV
boil
station?
order, we could put it on the TV and the radio and things like that. But the quickest way to find out is gonna be on the website, honestly. If it freezes at 3 in the afternoon, the news isn't gonna tell you about it until the news comes on. They're not gonna do a special report on Mocaine usually. But, you know, we'll do the best we can to make sure the information gets out to everybody.
I mean, I would say a suggestion for that is if you can't, for people that maybe live further out in a rural area or, you know, people, elderly people, older people, or just people that don't have internet access, would be immediately have a print off something and then have somebody deliver it to their mailbox that day.
Exactly, just some sort
Something
of
that's,
communication.
it can get out to them that day.
what we're looking at is,
I think 1,400.
trying to find something, a sort of system, it's similar to a phone tree, but it doesn't involve people. A call would go in and then alerts could go out on like a text message or something like that. That's one of the things we've looked at to get immediate information out. We're still exploring that, but that's the ideal way to do it. That's the best way to do it. So yeah, we have looked into.
Just
some
like
type
the
of-
schools put out when they have systems that notify you when the schools are closed, when the student isn't there, they have ways that you can communicate to
And-
residents to let them know.
Right now, we do not have a budget with the city to set up something like that. It's something we're looking into.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, if all else fails, I mean, we're okay here. We're not
Yeah.
Yeah, we even talked about if there were
I can open my
volunteers.
door and holler at 5 or 6.
We talked about volunteers for a
And I
phone
do that a
tree,
lot.
so that would work too. If anybody was interested in doing something like that. So there are lots of ways to do it.
Are we looking into those ways then?
We've been looking into them for over a year. I mean, that's how I know how much it costs. It's not, we can't do it. As far as a computer system right now.
We'll be paying for that too. So then
I
we'll
mean, I
have-
think that would go into your bill. Yeah, I mean,
I'm saying they're saying they want this, but then when you start charging for it, they're gonna be saying, oh, you're taking my money, you know, so. Damn, why not?
Well, then you gotta pay someone to deliver it.
at the least, if we can set up a phone tree system, that would be nice, so phone calls can go out. Yeah, that's what it's gonna be. So, yeah, that's something we're looking at.
Yeah.
What's that?
I think, so the tank was the last part I had on the plans.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did anybody have any questions or anything for the system and how it's gonna work? Yeah, it's all right.
They're still concerned about last year.
Okay. And an alert system wouldn't just be in the when's the last time the water tower froze? Besides last year when the windshield got down to 30, 35 below. I don't remember in the last 30-some years.
Precautions should have been made.
Betty would know.
Yeah, have you ever remember the water tower freezing before?
Never. I don't remember.
Now, the valve on top will shoot up and cover everything.
Yeah,
right?
that's not gonna happen.
We still have water.
Yeah. But I said that was the only freeze up we ever had.
That's all I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But FOIL orders are another reason to have something like that, so people don't have to sit and wait for the news. You know, we go door to door and put notices, but if we had an alert system, things like that would be a lot nicer. Make everything no sooner.
I tell you, it was a skating rink all the way down.
And the kids were playing with it.
But the other part of that is with the backup connection with Callaway too, if our power has an issue, then we still have water, so that's why we're doing that.
Does that automatically let know when to do that, or you have to call it?
There'll be a valve that we can turn on, and we work with Ron Fisher at Callaway too. I've been working.
So
with
you'll
him.
have, it'll have to be a phone call thing where they'll have to be notified, it doesn't automatically.
I'm not sure yet, either that or we'll have permission and notify afterwards. I we just have to look that up with Ron.
And I'd like to know when my,
Are you gonna have a flush valve off of that first?
Excuse me?
Are you gonna have a flush valve off of that? Because you're gonna need to flush
A
that.
flush valve off the Callaway 2 interconnect?
Yeah, because you're gonna need to flush that line
Yeah,
before
yes.
you send it to him.
We'll have to have one right up there, yes, from time to time, because it's gonna sit and not
Right.
get used. So, correct. But we'll write that down so I don't forget to ask it. No, we did that already. Okay, let me write this down.
So she already talked about the training and.
Yeah.
Just name that name and sell. You just call me if you have any questions.
Well, we just have a couple more things to talk about and then community input.
Need to call Ron anyways. Next thing on the agenda, and did you wanna stay or?
Well, you're gonna talk about sewer real quick?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Hey,
Where are we at on
sewer
that?
engineer.
Yeah,
So DNR has provided comments on the engineering contract, and Daniel is wrapping those up today, addressing those comments, and should be able to go ahead with the contract within the next 2 to 3 weeks, as long as DNR's on track with their approvals.
we were only missing 3 things, and
Yep.
I just signed off on the, RFQ information and sent it to Daniel, so he has that. And he says getting ready to put everything together, so yeah, that should be great.
So we should be able to kick off design within the next month or 2. Yeah, Daniel's really excited too. It's
As
an interesting
long as we
project.
don't pass up the water project.
Yes, yes.
And that's, we have to be working on and complete the water, its priority before sewer. So, we've been working on sewer so much, it's caught up and is doing pretty good. We were kind of told to put the brakes on for a minute, because somebody said, don't get in such a hurry. we gotta get the
DNR,
water done."
yes, DNR wants to make sure they have one project going on at a time with a town of your size, to
Yeah.
make sure things go right. Yes.
And while we're on sewer, from information and comments that have been made, we are under enforcement on our sewer. I think a comment was made that sewer's really nothing wrong with it. There's horrible problems with the sewer, and that is the thing that's got some biggest trouble of all. So,
Yeah, I have a big problem with my line being cut,
we're at,
the sewer line. I'm connected to the fire station over here. Cut.
Mhm.
We, me and you talked on the phone,
right? Okay, tell me where you're at.
right back there, next to the fire station.
Cells.
Oh, Mel's. No, it hasn't.
Yeah.
No, it hasn't.
Yes, it has.
Yes,
The
it
sewer line
has.
has not been cut.
Yes, it has.
Yes, it
Not-
has.
hang on. Not the sewer line.
Not the sewer line, but
Power.
the power.
Yeah, you
yes,
never
it-
supply power to the pump.
No.
The power where the pump goes to the fire station.
Nope.
If you don't believe me, you can call Jeff, the fire chief, because
Yeah,
he's
he
the
has
one.
water, I don't, sewer. It's
water?
on my sewer line.
He doesn't have.
He doesn't have sewer.
Okay.
So what they're saying is, you can go out there and clearly see it's disconnected.
Yeah, that's the
Oh,
power
that's
that came
right.
from the fire station building to run the pump to their building. And the power's supposed to come from their building, the fire station shouldn't be paying for the electric for the
So-
new line.
Exactly. And it was.
So how did it, okay, so that building,
I have before and after.
that building was there first.
Yeah,
So then how did they tie in over here?
I have text
no,
messages.
See,
we didn't, that was.
okay, so, okay, that goes back to a whole different problem.
Yeah, I have the proof, so I'm
If it was already working before, and then they tied in later,
There's two
then they
boxes.
can't disconnect it.
No, cut the line.
The wire nuts were removed, the line wasn't cut.
Sure, I
But the
can
fire
look-
station was providing the power for the pump
And
for
I
the
have a
for their
text
building.
message from Dennis saying that he would hook it up to where the power was going to both of them. I was also told that I would have some kind of test ran in my garage, because that's where the sewer drain is. So when it backs up, it floods, whatever, all that water's right there.
Your drain in your garage isn't supposed to go into the sewer.
I know that.
Yeah. That's not our, I mean, that's just,
Okay.
the drain from your garage floor drain cannot go into the sewer. That's why
Well, I can't
the
help the
sewer
way
pump
it's
will
done.
run all the time when it rains, because the septic tank is filling up. And it's got to pump run the rainwater
Here
out.
we go, right here, right here.
No locker in the bottom, that was a kill floor. Okay, it went to the sewer. Back years ago, it was kill floor.
Yeah, and it was supposed to be
Okay,
60%.
that's what she's talking about, her garage.
Right,
But that used to be a kill floor, that's why it went to the sewer,
right.
but it's never changed.
Yeah, and that, it's good, it has to change. I mean, that's,
If it ain't got no sewer or water,
but you want your sewer and water turned back on, correct? So if that drain's still going in, that's problematic.
no, there is no way somebody should, that's $1,000 to reconnect that line that got cut to my side, on that pole that back there.
I'm sorry, I'm lost, because as far, there was no power line that went to your building.
Yes, there was.
And we didn't cut it. If it was cut, it was cut before. That's the only
No,
power.
I
we've
have
ever
before and
worked.
after, sir, so. nope.
It's really simple, and I don't understand why nobody can follow it. Building A,
You just
the
look.
meat locker, was there previously.
Yeah,
There was sewer.
yes.
There was power out to the pump.
Yes. Yes.
I would assume that's when it was first put in, when it was built as a pump.
So then, magically, we have a new fire station
Mhm.
that ties into the same pump,
No, there's on the same.
Exactly, same septic tank.
same septic.
Yeah,
So then why is there no longer power
really good question.
to the pump?
It was done years ago, don't know
No, it
why.
was not. No, it wasn't.
Once that got disconnected,
I have proof
once
that
that got
they did
disconnected,
it.
that shut the sewer off
Oh,
to the new
I have
pump.
checked.
When did they build that?
The
Does
meat
anybody
locker?
remember when they built this building right here?
In the meat locker?
No, when they built this fire
Down
station.
the fire station. You're talking about the fire station 20-some years ago.
Yeah, I mean,
How long ago did they put that up?
20-some odd years ago, they said.
20-some years, so that's when it was done.
So
So,
you're telling me it was cut then?
Probably built.
I don't know for sure, but
I got the report after.
it has not been cut.
30 years.
Power from your building to the pump has not
They
been
might
cut in
have
the
to
last
take
5 years.
a walk by or side.
Okay.
Would you like to see a picture?
Hinky owned that ground right there. Hinky give them that ground.
Mhm.
Half of that ground belonged to Hinky.
Okay,
So probably they made the deal
Mhm.
for them to
Yeah.
put
I
the
talked to
electric.
I see what you're saying.
You
Okay.
know, that's how that deal works.
Now, at this
So-
point, the fire station doesn't have anything to discharge, they're not gonna be hooked into the sewer.
So,
That's fine.
So, I guess that my question would be, so the fire station's electric should still pay for the sewer that they're not connected to?
I got charged a whole year.
How much electric are you really talking about to run?
Just sewer.
I guess we'd have to get the fire station's permission to use their electric to run somebody else's
They just
pump.
sent me.
Well, I mean, you shouldn't, because it should have been grandfathered in, since the fire station was allowed and given the property.
Yeah, and see, we don't have any record of any of this.
Well, I do, because I got text messages from
So
them.
that's one of the, I mean, we have that all over the place. We're dealing with that.
Say it, Mark.
We're trying
Go ahead and
to.
say it.
What's that? All this whole fucking town that's all been.
And let me ask you something.
That's
There's
why
people
it's
out
had-
there that pay their water bill, and I know for a fact that you all can't find your shut off. But y'all swear by shut off everybody else's.
So if we don't find a shut off, we put in a
What's
meter set.
reconnecting?
We put in a meter set and shut the water off.
Hasn't been
Okay,
connected.
what's, what are y'all charging?
What's the reconnecting?
And the bar.
Let's get back on the agenda, this has jumped a long way.
Okay, so.
This is not the agenda.
Water.
We were
It's not a
They'll
concern
make
for the
it on the
community.
bar side. Get water.
I did everything they asked me to do.
401, we,
I removed.
that's the house we bought on the courthouse steps.
We contacted you.
I will see you all.
Did you want to talk to her some more before she leaves? Just so you can just go ahead.
You have a business card. So I can get it.
I've got her on the side, I got an email and everything.
I do need to because we don't have a city hall. We don't have a city hall, we're not ready to
And that money will go towards the.
Thank you so much. Got it. Thank you so much, ma'am. Have a great day. Let me take it.
Okay, next we have the 2020 budget. We have to do a review, correct?
Bill number 2023-09, ordinance number 2023-09, budget ordinance, adopting the budget for the city of Gulfport, Missouri, for the fiscal year ending December 31st.
Second reading.
Bill number 2023-09, ordinance number 2023-09, budget ordinance. An ordinance adopting the budget for the city of Gulfport, Missouri, for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023.
It used to be government, it used to be outline.
in favor? All in favor of the 2024 budget?
Nobody heard it back there.
Yep.
Why would you read it again? What's the budget? Nobody back here can hear.
You can give them like, budget for water, budget for sewer, so you can just give that like that.
Our total budget for the year of 2024, expenditures and revenue for the previous year balance is $327,927.
Okay, we should be in 327.
$327,927.
Now, what you have to take into consideration is we, the city hasn't been paying for all the repairs out of our budget. When we get these grants and the loan, that everything's a little bit different. It's not gonna come straight out of our. It is what it is, so it.
It's not coming out of your pocket.
What's that?
It's not coming out of your pocket, it's coming out of money, city won't pay.
That's what I'm talking, it's not my pocket, it's not the city's pocket.
It's not all coming out of the city.
We're paying for that right now, where that's up
I'll make a motion that we accept the 2024 budget.
There's a second. Okay, now we have community input, and something else.
Thank you. Do you have the budget for
Like I said, it doesn't open in August, but I have no water up to it, so.
the water upgrade, the water project, the sewer project? What is the, basically, I don't know if you put out what that's gonna be and then what in terms that's gonna raise everybody's rates to.
We won't know until we get to the point with, we do the rate calculation. DNR sits down and we have a meeting. We'll look at how much grants we got, what the loan has to be, and how that breaks down. Until then, we're not gonna have any definite idea.
So that's happening in, Missouri Rural Water Association.
No, that's for Third Street. Or no, that's for the water, but that's just to get a grant. We have to have a rate study for the CDBG grant, but that's not the rates that we'll use for the town. The DNR will set up. I need to get this up fund, so.
Our water and sewer bills aren't gonna get higher than they are now.
Yes.
Chances are they will not, because it's gonna be on the amount you use. It's not gonna be a flat rate. So if you have a large household, depending on how much you use, it could be more, but single and double equal household, chances are it's gonna be less.
But you can't really say for sure on that, can you?
I-
Until those rates are set, you really
Right.
can't say that.
I mean,
I mean, that's just not.
well, that, I don't see how you could ever even project a less rate calculating large construction to a city like that. I mean, the city is gonna cover only so much, then the city's gotta recoup that, and the only way to recoup that is people's rates are gonna have to go up a little bit, whether it's a little bit or a lot. So
Possibly.
I don't see any way that anybody's rates would go down.
When we do the rate study, and we decide what the base rate's gonna be, that will include a certain amount each household will pay for maintenance, to pay back loans. That's why we're jumping through all these hoops, so we can be eligible for as much grant money that
Right.
we don't have.
Right, which helps. I mean,
Right.
I understand that.
And the loan runs right around 1%. Could be a little bit less, could be a little bit more, depending on what the state.
So when you guys do the rate study, is that gonna be available to the public?
And see, the rates right now, we had a preliminary engineering report, and they had to do a basic rate study when that was done, and that's where the rates came from now. DNR requires that. the hope is that they stay pretty close to that. I mean, it's supposed to work that way. I can't see it jumping by $30, $40 a person.
Right,
Because
right.
Then the engineers that did the preliminary report really screwed up. But it should be relatively close. Fingers crossed, they shouldn't jump very much, I'm hoping.
And it's not gonna be a surprise, it's not gonna be like 1 month, it's this, next month it's something else, there's gonna be a lot of conversation and communication.
And we,
So when you do this rate study, are you gonna go like house to house, like you said? I'm assuming.
I don't know how they do it. I don't know.
When they can explain it to us though. when
Yeah,
they-
yeah.
That's
Said,
what we
this
had.
is new to me.
Yeah.
So they just keep saying, we'll do a rate study, we'll have a meeting, we'll figure this all out. So it's gotta be coming, if we're at that point where they wanna do right around in June, we're gonna have to get some of that done fairly soon. So I'm hoping,
Well, you said it's gonna be done in January, didn't you? Is that what Missouri?
no, that's for third one, that's for that's for rate study for the CDBG grant. So it's not the DNR required rate study, it's the community development block grant requirement. To get that grant, we have to have a real specific rate study, not different than the preliminary.
So it's not a
easy.
rate study of
For us to
the
use.
water
Nope.
which means you kind of, we're not clear when she was
Okay,
asking about.
yeah, that's separate. That rate study is to be eligible for a grant amount, but it's not the rate study the city will use. It's real specific. The preliminary, we thought the preliminary engineering report, rate study and that would be used for everything. Every grant group has their own requirements that you gotta meet, and so we have to jump through a lot of them. Yeah, Sandy.
Have you checked into that Hilltop Street,
Remind me.
getting it surveyed? Because, you know.
Oh, yes.
Hill Street?
Yes, yes.
I said Hilltop, Hill Street.
Yeah, that's what threw me, Hill Street.
He's supposed to call me when yes, I called him and they already surveyed.
Okay. I
It
just
hasn't
don't-
been done yet.
well,
And I need to get a hold of the engineering group that's doing the culverts on Third
But
Street.
that's gonna involve that.
Yeah, well,
It will.
fingers crossed that, when we do it, and since we're working with the county, we might, there is a hope we can extend that street all the way out to Deaconette instead of the way it is now. Does that make sense?
Oh.
Hill
well, I
Street come out
understand.
straight and
I
go
just-
left or right.
I don't see how a person, that has been established, I showed you the old flat thing.
Mhm.
That's been established, whichever way it's gone, it should have been grandfathered in. I mean, that street's gone that way ever since I've had property up there. So,
A few years before that.
You used a word that is really important.
grandfather,
Should have.
should've, would've, could've. But,
So we're trying to catch up a little. It would be nice if it came out straight and it was a T intersection. so
I
people
don't
could
care
turn
how
back
it is,
to
I
the
just
right.
don't see how somebody can just put upon themselves to block the street off, which goes all the way up. You know, it's always
That's why we're
been a
getting
road,
that's
it's
why we're
always
getting
been a roadway
surveyed.
since I've had that property up there, so, I mean,
Yeah, and it's one thing Debbie brought up before.
drainage flood, he said he would open it for the.
But yeah, that's the purpose of the survey is to find out exactly. So if that'll solve that or answer that question right there. But we want to get away from that completely. Just have a street that comes straight out, and there's no question about it.
Wow.
So the county said that if possible, they're gonna try and help us get that done.
Okay, I'm,
Well, so has he blocked it off?
oh, yes, it is blocked off.
Where his driveway is.
No, it's after his driveway. People need to look
No,
at
it
it.
needs to be on his driveway.
It's after his driveway. It is after his driveway. Straight across. It is straight across.
His section.
Well, they have considered when it didn't run on there, they.
That's one of the reasons we're doing the survey, so we can get that done.
Okay.
Yeah, no, actually, and it's a good question, I said Debbie brought the same things up after we talked about it, and so, yeah, survey's gotta be done, so that's done correctly.
Okay.
I'll call them, see if we can get it done quick.
I don't care, I just really don't think he has the right to do that.
So what's it, I mean, the driveway.
Was there anything else? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I make a motion.
Is there a second? Is there a second? All in favor? I got the phone number, and she can get it out of here.